Hey, welcome back. This is Peter Sabo, and in this video, I'll show you how I build campaigns in real time. There's a couple of things I want to say before we dive right in. As you see, this is one of my ad accounts that I actually ran to build my business. We spent 180,000 just beneath it, generated over 2,800 phone calls, and there's a bunch more that either didn't get captured here or came through different funnels and stuff like that didn't get tracked. But the bottom line is this stuff really works, and we had roughly a 10x ROI on this ad spend on just this one ad account. Obviously, there's many more. So I'm excited to show you how I do things exactly as I do it. Now, there's a couple other things. I personally haven't built an ad campaign in a while. I built a team of up to 20 people at its very peak. Now it's a little bit less. I optimized things, cut a lot of fat. It's not necessarily about how big your company is, but how profitable it is. And, we can talk about that later. But now I have a small team of rock solid ninjas that just build it for me and for clients. And then I'm kind of just stepping in to check on stuff and make sure it's been done correctly or answer questions. So, to pre-frame things, I haven't done this in a while. And then the second thing is keep in mind the platform always changes, like there's always tiny details in Facebook that change or design or user interface. So do not worry about it. If you have any questions or stuff like that, just put it below the video or bring it to the Q&A calls. But it still should be pretty intuitive and it should be pretty easy to understand and go through it. So anyway, with that being said, I'll be starting the creation right now. It's 10:45 a.m. and let's see how long it takes. I'm going to be using this funnel. We've used many others, but for now, I'm just going to stick with this one, and it has worked really well. So let's dive right in. So first step, click create. So over here, you just put in the campaign name. For me, I would usually just put in the URL, conversions USA, something like that. Again, naming conventions are purely for you to keep track of things, but it's not critical or anything like that. So I usually just keep it very simple. It also depends on what type of campaign I create. I almost always go for conversions, definitely in this case, and then just ad set, I just call it one and add one. Boom, save to draft. That's all you got to do. So the campaign is done. You already selected the conversion campaign, meaning Facebook will optimize for conversions. Then we go to the ad set. So the ad set is really where you set up the targeting. That's really what it is. So you want to choose the conversion event. So that's already set. You can also check the pixel over here. I'll explain how to do these things as well. The reason it's showing up as an error because I have an ad blocker installed. So if I was to disable it, it would work. But that stuff is set up correctly, which I'll show you how to do in another video. But essentially, you've got the conversion. You set the daily budget. I'll explain how to set the daily budget or what amount to set in another video as well. Then I just either select the targeting, the custom audience, and all that good stuff. So generally speaking, what I do, target a lot of the USA, United States. You can obviously select who lives here, who's just traveling. Not a major difference in my experience. Ultimately, you want to test it. I just either keep it that way or do people who live here. For audiences, sometimes we exclude. So example, when you show your ad to a bunch of people, well, you don't necessarily want to show the same ad to the people who've already performed the action you wanted them to perform. What that essentially means in human words is if somebody already opts in or purchases, then it really makes no point to spend more money and show them the same ad because they've already done what we wanted them to do, right? So example, I would exclude people that booked a call with us, because what's the point in marketing to them when they've already done what we wanted, right? Sometimes I would put a lookalike in here, which is very helpful, like this or something like this. For example, I'll put that. So 1% lookalike US, 365 days, everyone who engaged with my Instagram. Age, generally speaking, I do something like 25 to maybe 50. Again, this is purely based on who you work with and your preference. I can help both men and women, so I'm just going to select all. Language is not necessarily necessary because we're talking about people who live in the United States, so you can assume that they speak, obviously English. And the age range, I generally avoid young people because generally speaking, they don't have money. Obviously, there's exceptions, but you don't want to play a game of exceptions here. This is the vast majority. And then up to 50, because generally speaking, like I like to work with younger folks and stuff like that who understand a bit more technology. So I personally just cap it roughly something between like that. But obviously this is something you want to test, and it's going to be different for you. Right now I'm just showing you how I build campaigns. Then if I want to layer targeting, I just put it in here. So example, Shopify. If you want to layer, so narrow them so they must match both, I just kind of put it in here. E-commerce, boom. And you can always see here how many people you're going to reach over here on the daily. You see over here, it's kind of still in the middle, so that's pretty good. Potential reach, I'm not. It's probably unavailable because of all the lookalikes and stuff I put in there. But for now, for sake of simplicity, I'm just gonna, remove that. But and keep in mind another thing. This is good to see. Is Facebook sometimes has bugs and technical difficulties, and actually they do have it quite often. So some things are not going to show up correctly, but you don't have to worry about it too much. Placement, this is where you select, okay, do you want it on your phone, on your device, on your desktop? Generally, I just do automatic. I let Facebook figure it out as they recommend it as well. Optimize for conversions. The window is good. And then you see there's, again, updates to the bidding options. So that's all good. Boom. And I just go for lowest cost in the beginning. So that's good. That's done. Now I go to the ad. So as you see, it was like 5 minutes and we've already done most of the work. We just got to do the ad. So over here, I'm going to make sure that I select my page. There we go. I'm going to hide that as well. And then you can obviously select the carousel ad or just an image or use an existing post. I generally just stick with this one. Boom, hide that message as well. Select an image. And for now, we're just going to do an image ad. You can do stock photos. You can do account image. In the next training, I'll explain what images to choose and why to choose those. Let me see. Let me see if I can find the one that I'd like to use. Example, this one. Boom. Okay, now we take this link, copy and paste. You make sure you put it in here because that's where the traffic is going to go. And then we start working on the ad itself. So this is the ad in preview, and the headline is the one that says Shopify right now. So for the headline, I usually do benefit without pain. So stuff like how to add 50, 100 sales a day. Essentially, I'm literally copying and pasting this, and a big thing, and I'll explain all these things later, is that the landing page and the ad has to be congruent. It has to make sense. If you say apples on the ad and you send them to a page that says oranges, people will leave because it's not consistent. It's not congruent. So, when the ad's going to say how to add an extra 50 to 100 sales a day to your Shopify store, well, then ideally, it's going to be either the same or something very similar so that people feel like it is consistent and congruent. So I'm just going to delete some here to make it look nice and make it fit. There we go. Description, I usually add an additional benefit or just a little more copy to sell them on clicking. In each and every step of the process, you're selling the next step. So the purpose of the ad is not to sell. The purpose of the ad is not to collect an opt-in. The purpose of the ad is to sell the click. And when they come here, well, then obviously we take the next step. The purpose of the video is to sell the booking link, to sell that they book a call with me, and when they book a call, they go to the thank you page. Well, then the thank you page is selling the fact that they now need to show up and being in integrity, right? So every part of the process is just pushing them through, is just selling the next step. I hope that makes sense. I'll explain all of these things in greater detail later. I'll also cover the copy and why I write it in a certain way and give you templates in a little bit. But essentially what I do is start with a yes-driven question. How would you like to add hundreds of sales per day to your Shopify store without spending I'm going to explain everything as soon as I write it. Boom. That's it. That's the ad. We can also add a little description, not critical or anything like that. I'll just add something to illustrate it. Uh, mm, 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 mm. Okay, boom, done. I'll cover compliance in another video as well because that's obviously another important thing to look into. Call to action, I either do learn more or sign up, something like that. Or sometimes you can do apply now, book now. Again, these are things that you want to test. Another important thing I want to mention is like I'm giving you some of my best practices that I've seen in my own business and other businesses. But at the end of the day, I'm not a god. I'm not going to tell you, or I cannot tell you exactly what's going to work for you. You got to build it and then test it and then see what the market says. Because what you think or I think or Mikhail thinks is maybe good stuff, but it's still irrelevant and it really doesn't matter because the only thing that matters is what your market says, thinks, and what feedback they give you. If something's not working, you don't have to cry about it or feel bad. It's just okay. That's not what the market wants. It doesn't strike a nerve. It doesn't resonate. We got to adjust. So essentially, here's an ad. I put it together in like, what was it, another 5 minutes. And pretty much the basic campaign is done in less than 10 minutes. And as you can obviously tell, I spent a lot of time talking and explaining, which I wasn't planning to do, but I feel like I needed to add a little bit of context. But as you see, the whole thing was built in like 10 minutes, probably less if I, excluded the talking. What I'll do next is duplicate the ad set a couple more times, and then really the campaign's done. And total time, it was 10 or 15 minutes, right? So once you get good at this stuff, you'll be able to crank these out just as quickly. In the beginning, do not beat yourself up. Some people even take hours to build it because, you got to make sure every single detail is selected and, made well, and you double check, and then the pixel and all this. So do not worry about it. Some of these things you'll just have to learn, practice. And some of these things, such as setting up the custom audiences, lookalikes, pixels, are mostly a one-time thing. So you don't have to worry about that too much either. But essentially what's happening here for the ad copy is I'm asking a yes-driven question because we want to start the relationship positively. If they say yes to us and they keep saying yes to us consistently and over a long period of time, when it comes to the sale, they're going to be more likely to say yes once again because their brain is using the consistency bias. This is also explained in psychological studies where, example, there was a study like this company wanted to put like a massive billboard in someone's garden to promote like a good cause, and vast majority of people said no, even though it was a good cause, because obviously nobody wants like a big billboard in their garden. And I think it was like 80% or 90% said no. Then what they try to do with a different neighborhood is it with the same everything, like same people, same income level, so it's not like a different group of people. But now they asked them to do a small favor first, and I think that was maybe like a little sticker or something to put in their window to promote this good cause. And because it was so low friction, it was easy to do, as simple, and it's not too bad. A lot of people said yes to it, like 90%. But then out of those 90%, later they followed up and they came with the billboard. I think like 70 or 80% of those 90 said yes. And the only thing that changed was the consistency. This is why you also need to pay attention to doing favors to other people, because while one small favor may be okay, your brain is going to assume unconsciously that you like this person, and the next time they come back to you with a bigger favor, automatically you'll be more likely or more inclined to do it. So that's like the consistency bias in a nutshell. And I'm going to cover a lot more of these when we go into further videos and modules. But that's the whole idea behind the first question of how would you like to add hundreds of sales per day to your Shopify store without spending any more money on your ads. Because I've researched my market, I know for a fact that they do want to make more money. And this is not something that I'm making up. I've actually taken the time to ask these people personally and then, collected a lot of data, and it's obvious that they want more sales, more money, but none of them wants to spend more money on ads. And if you survey your market, you'll figure out the same thing. If you ask a bunch of people who want to lose weight, they'll tell you, I want to lose weight, I want to get rid of disease, I want to look sexy, I want to attract the opposite sex, but I don't want to diet, I don't want to work out, I don't want to do all these different things, right? So strong how to benefit without pain for them would be, how to lose hundreds of pounds without dieting and exercising, right? Obviously, it has to be in the realm of reality, and you actually got to be able to deliver. So this course, or, what I'm teaching you here is not just to create copy you can't fulfill on, or that's complete bullshit. Of course, keep it real. Don't make promises you cannot fulfill. But that's a formula that works really well, that you can just kind of fill in the blanks and run with it. And again, keep in mind, by no means you want to go out and scream like, hey, I'm going to teach you how to make millions of dollars in 2 days, or lose, hundreds of pounds in 7 days, because that will get you shut down and banned. So we're going to cover compliance in the next video. But essentially, if we move on to paragraph number 2, it's an authority statement. It's done in a personal tone. And as you see, there's really more going on than just a call to action, in a subtle way, trying to avoid too much bragging, because that just doesn't feel right and it's not very cool. But in a way, I'm trying to position myself while staying personable. If you read it, it says, hey, my name is Peter Szabo, kind of like an everyday conversation. Notice that I'm not using like a corporate tonality. Nobody wants to hear that, especially on social media. So I'm just being personal. I'm just being me. Hey, I'm Pete. And over the last 9 years, I've had the amazing privilege of helping hundreds of e-com stores grow. Maybe I'll add that little word there. And by this point, I'd be blind not to notice some obvious patterns. Right? Some also self-degrading. I could literally say by this point, I'd be an idiot not to notice patterns between businesses that are killing it and between businesses that are not. And for the next few days, urgency, I'm sharing the top 3 differences between stores that are killing it and stores that are losing money. Check it out. Link. So the last paragraph, as you see, there's an element of scarcity / urgency. So I'm not going to be sharing this forever, but only for the next few days. I could literally add that in there if I wanted to. And again, this is something you'll test and see what's better or not. But I could say, and for the next few days only, sharing the differences, and then check it out. Again, personal, everyday tone. Go to this link and check it out. Notice that I'm not using the average, boring, corporate, learn more, click here for more information. Nobody wants to hear that shit, and I promise you that's going to lower your conversions, because again, you're on social media to be social, to share stuff, to check fun stuff out. And this is something I'll cover in the mindset of a 7-figure media buyer. But keep in mind, people do not go on social media with a credit card in hand thinking, ooh, what am I going to buy? They're there to hang out, to socialize, to message people, to read, to be, to check out interesting content. So we got to approach it from a different angle. That corporate buy now kind of attitude is not going to cut it. And I promise you, it's not going to work. So that's why, as you can see, it's quite different when you compare it to that. So that's pretty much the ad done. I quickly went through the copy, what that entails. The headline is really just a big, how to benefit statement. I could add without pain as well, but it just didn't fit, so I just got rid of it. And then the description is not actually showing up over here, but it could show up on different formats. As you can see, an instant article, for example, has that. So that's roughly how to build a campaign in a nutshell. It's pretty quick, pretty simple. I mean, it's nothing intimidating. And then if you want to, target multiple people, generally speaking, what I do is I just duplicate the ad set, just like that. As you can see, I'm going to have 2 additional ad sets, and these are identical. And then the interesting thing you're going to see is I select these 3 ad sets have 1 ad each, right? So there's 1 ad per ad set. And it said, and essentially when you go into an ad set, you click on edit, you change the name, and then you would put what you're going to target over here. So you may just want to do just lookalike. And essentially you scroll down and you just change the targeting option. So if I was just going to do lookalikes, then I'm going to remove any detailed targeting, and I'm just going to put in a lookalike that I choose. So, 365 engage. And again, the naming conventions are for you. So I'm not going to tell you how to do it, what's the right or wrong way, because there's no right or wrong way. This is just for you to know which campaign is which. And obviously, if you click on edit, you'll be able to, zoom in, go deeper, and actually double check what kind of ad set you're editing and all that. But this is really just for the 30,000 foot overview, like when you're actually managing all these different campaigns and ad sets, just so you can kind of remember, oh, so this ad set is just the lookalike of the 365 engaged. I could even do like 1% lookalike just so I can remember exactly what it is. This one over here, or actually this first one, was no lookalike, and we did Shopify and ecom. So I could say Shopify and ecom, layered. So I know which one it is, right? And then here's the third ad set, again, going to rename it. And maybe I'm just going to say just Shopify. So now I'm going to remove the layer of e-commerce. And as you can see, it's now just targeting Shopify. Now this one didn't change its name for some reason, so I'm just going to do it Shopify and ecom again, and boom, it's there. As you can tell, Facebook sometimes has these bugs and technical difficulties, but again, it's nothing major. And as you see, in those 2 minutes that I was doing this, I already created 2 additional ad sets. And so essentially what's happening here is you have 1 campaign. Now the campaign level, when you look at the campaign, it really just does one thing. It tells Facebook what objective to optimize for. Is our objective to get a bunch of social engagement, likes, and comments? Not in this case. Is our objective to get conversions and make sure that these conversions are people that book a call? Yes, that is the objective. So that's why we selected conversions. The rest you don't have to worry about. Then we go into the ad sets. Keep in mind, ad sets are synonymous with targeting. Ad set essentially means who are you targeting? So we have $150 per day total budget, 50 per ad set each. Again, in a future video, I'll explain how to set the budget and all that good stuff. But essentially, we have $50 per day going to this targeting here. People that are interested in Shopify and the ecom layered, right? So this is a decently targeted audience. Then there's the people we're targeting a lookalike of people that engaged with my fan page in the last 1 year, last 365 days. And then the third targeting option is just Shopify. So ecom is not included. Now you're going to see as you run these ads for the next few days that each of these ad sets will have a different result because you're tapping into a different pool of people. Some of them may be more expensive, cheaper, so on and so forth. So that's how you're going to start optimizing. And, some ad sets you're going to kill. Let's say, this one is going to be too expensive, so you go ahead and kill it. Or let's say this one is going to be within KPI, key performance indicator. It's making you money. So then you go into the budget and you increase the budget to spend more money, or you duplicate it. And I'll go over scaling and all that good stuff as well. For now, I'm just trying to set some of the basic concepts so you can start to, understand it. And I promise you, by the end of this training, everything's going to come full circle. I definitely want to make sure I reiterate that by this point, If you understand everything, great. I mean, you must be, you must have run some ads before, but I don't expect, if you're new to this, I don't expect for you to understand this, because I'm really just laying the foundation, and it will come full circle, because we're literally just doing like a 30,000 bird's eye view overview, trying to explain some of the basic functions and stuff like that. And then the ad itself, well, that's the ad, that's the creative, that's the copy, all these different words to really just express like, okay, what post you're putting in front of people. And you really see there's only one ad per ad set. So we're only testing this one image. Now, if you wanted to, what you can also do is duplicate all these ads, and then you're going to have 2 ads per ad set. So each targeting is going to test 2 different ads. And generally speaking, I like to test one variable at a time. Here's the whole idea. If you test one difference, one variable, then you can tell for a fact that because this one thing got changed, I got different results. It's cause and effect that makes sense. Now, if I was to change everything, if I change the headline, the copy, the image, the video, the everything, well, it's too many variables for me to accurately tell you the cause and effect. Then I don't really know what's creating the result or destroying the result, if that makes sense. So generally speaking, I like to change one thing at a time. So here's another picture that I can run. Okay, let's do the ad preview super quick. And if you want to crop the picture, you can click right over here. So this picture is really meant for page post engagement ads, where you can actually include the whole thing. You can't really do it in conversions, but it's okay. I'm just really showing you how I would change the picture. So you see now it's an identical ad with one variable difference, which is the picture, right? You can also change it to a video. So if you click here on to video, then you just go ahead and select the video that you have, whichever one that would be. Let me see. Yeah, these are pretty long. Obviously certain videos can run on Instagram, like it has to be a minute long. So example, this I believe is one of those videos. I would just change it. And now, you can see the ad is totally different. And again, we only change one variable. As you see, the description, the headline, the copy, the text up here is the same, but the video is different.
The reality is,
and because it is different, it's going to spit out different results. So I hope this makes sense. I hope this was a decent, overall overview of what's going on and how it's going on and all that good stuff. You could see that a campaign, literally start to finish, was built in 15, maybe 20 minutes max. Obviously, I spent a lot of time talking and explaining. But in the next video, I'm going to walk you through step by step everything, all the details that you need to know. So I'll make sure I take care of you that way. I'll see you in the next video.